The old inn stood alone on the hill. Its windows, like vacant eyes, stared out at the deserted road. The wind howled through the eaves, sounding like mournful cries. A rusted sign creaked in the breeze, barely whispering, "Weeping Willow Inn." Inside, dust lay thick on the threadbare furniture. Cobwebs draped the chandelier, casting eerie shadows on the cracked walls. The air hung heavy, thick with the silence of ages and the faint scent of mildew. At the end of the hallway, a single door stood ajar. Room 213. John, weary from his travels, stepped into room 213. The door clicked shut behind him with a finality that sent a shiver down his spine. He fumbled for the light switch. A single bare bulb flickered to life, casting a sickly yellow glow on the faded floral wallpaper. The air felt cold, strangely still. He placed his bag on the rickety luggage stand, its legs scraping against the worn wooden floor. The sound echoed in the silence of the room. Outside, the wind continued its mournful song, whistling through the gaps in the window panes. He pulled the heavy curtains shut, seeking to block out the darkness and the unsettling feeling that had settled upon him. John lay awake. The silence of the room was broken only by the creaking of the old house settling around him. Or was it just the house? He could have sworn he heard whispers, soft and indistinct, coming from the walls themselves. He tossed and turned, trying to ignore the growing sense of unease. A sudden cold draft swept through the room, causing the hairs on the back of his neck to stand on end. He could have sworn he saw a shadow flicker in the corner of his eye, only to vanish when he turned his head. He pulled the blankets tight, seeking comfort against the growing chill that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. Section 4. The Diary of Abigail Crane. He discovered an old diary tucked beneath the mattress, its leather cover dry and cracked with age. The pages, brittle and yellowed, held the spidery handwriting of a woman named Abigail Crane. She wrote of strange occurrences, cold drafts, and whispers that seemed to emanate from the walls. Her words spoke of fear, a creeping terror that seemed to consume her. Night after night, the entries detailed her growing terror. Abigail wrote of shadows that danced at the edge of her vision, of disembodied voices that whispered her name in the dead of night. Her words spoke of a presence in room 213, a malevolent entity that fed on her fear. John shivered, a cold dread settling upon him as he read her final frantic entry. "It's here! It's in the walls!" Section 5. A bloody discovery. He tore at the faded wallpaper, driven by a morbid curiosity and a growing sense of dread. Behind it, the plaster was crumbling, revealing a hidden alcove. And there, scrawled in what appeared to be dried blood, was a message. It was a single word, written in a frantic hand. "Help!" John recoiled, his heart pounding in his chest. The air in the room felt thick and heavy, as if a presence had materialized alongside his discovery. He could feel the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end, a primal instinct warning him of unseen danger. His eyes darted around the room, searching for the source of the message, for any sign of the desperate soul who had scrawled it. Section 6. Trapped. He spun around to find the door had slammed shut, the lock clicking with an ominous finality. He rattled the handle, but it wouldn't budge. He was trapped. A cold hand reached out from the wall, its long, bony fingers wrapping around his wrist in a vice-like grip. He screamed, a primal cry of terror that echoed through the empty halls of the Weeping Willow Inn. As he struggled in vain against the unseen force, his gaze fell upon the wall opposite him. There, scratched into the plaster, was another message, barely visible beneath the years of grime. It was a single chilling sentence. "You're next." Then silence. The only sound was the mournful cry of the wind whistling through the eaves of the old inn on the hill.